bring in mortgage mum Sally Mitchell, mortgage broker from Great Dunmow, who's been listening to Ella talking there, and Heidi as well. Morning to you, Sally.
Morning.
Morning. Now, what's going on here? Because we've got interest rates that we haven't seen for a while, have we? As we said, we've been, low interest rates for a long, long time, and then they just keep going up and up and up, don't they? Do you think they're going to go up again on Thursday?
Yes, I do. I think it's going to go up at least 0.25%. Sorry, I can see your face.
I'm grimacing because I am one of these people, okay? So I have a mortgage and I've done a fixed deal, and my fixed deal's due to run out end of this year, beginning of next year. And I genuinely am quite worried about the new mortgage repayments I'm suddenly going to be faced with, as are millions of other people in this country over the next year or so.
Absolutely. We've got 1.5 million people on fixed rates who are going to come to an end in the next year. That's an awful lot of households. And of course, it affects not just people on fixed rates, but the continuing increase in the Bank of England base rate means that people who are on variable and tracker rates as well, they're also affected. They see them, their rates going up pretty much every month at the moment. It's frightening. And it means that, getting onto the ladder, as Ella was explaining, it's really hard. It's harder than ever. And with the government Help to Buy scheme, finished, there are less opportunities for people to get moving and get going. It's really hard.
Now, Martin Lewis, I was hearing him chatting about this yesterday, and he was saying, I've been warning about this. He said, a long time ago, I warned it's going to be a problem. It's a ticking time bomb.
Well, I wish he'd told us.
Is it quite serious? I mean, how seriously are you taking it?
Oh, very seriously. I don't see, and experts who are, economists, much cleverer than me, they say that we're not going to see these rates going down for the next couple of years. It's going to be 2027 before we hit sort of 4.5%. Obviously, no one has a crystal ball. We didn't foresee this happening. So if Martin saw it happening, I really wish he'd sort of, flagged it up a little bit earlier. So we're going to have to live with it. Unfortunately, that is the base. This is not going away. So people have really got to get good advice. Don't put your head in the sand. With you, Sonia, if you're coming up the end of the year in 6 months' time, you need to be looking at your options now. 6 months is not too early to look at it, because what's going to happen in the last 6 months, we've seen things go from 3 to 6%. So you kick yourself in December if you're suddenly looking at rates that are 7.5%. You wish you would have.
And that, funnily enough, when we first got a mortgage all those years ago, that was the rate. That was roughly the rate. And some people are saying it's kind of going back to what it should be. But of course, house prices have gone up so much since then. And, we're borrowing more money, aren't we, in order to get on the ladder? I
mean, the last time we had really high interest rates or higher interest rates, people were borrowing on average twice their annual salary. Nowadays, we're looking at a minimum of 4.5. And, that's still not enough, especially in the southeast, to actually purchase something, especially if you're on your own like Ella. So if you put all that into the sort of the calculator, actually, with the increased borrowing, the 6% rate is now equivalent to 13% back in the bad old days. So we are, as you say, pretty much back where we were. Now, I remember those days, and what I don't want to remember is the amount of repossessions and, real struggles that people had. Things are better these days because we had the mortgage market review in 2015, which meant that people were stress tested when they take out a mortgage to mean that they will still be able to afford it if it increased by, let's say, 3%. So we have these safeguards in place, but that doesn't take away from the fact that the average mortgage holder is, going to have to find about £2,900 extra a year. And for some of the clients I deal with, because their mortgages are bigger, their mortgages have gone up in the last 6 months by £400-500 a month. It's crazy. And when everything else is so expensive, this is a problem. Everything else is so expensive. There is no wiggle room.
Yeah, that's the thing. If it was just one thing, I mean, that's bad enough. But we've had the energy prices, we've got the food. Yeah. And the whole point, I suppose, behind this is the Bank of England really can only do this, raise interest rates to try and control inflation. So it's kind of one of the things they can do to do that. But everything's still so expensive, isn't it? So it's not really slowing down, is it, the rate?
Not as much as we hoped. And this is why we've had the spike in the last week or so, because although inflation did come down in the last announcement to 8.7, the market thought and had priced things on it going down to 8.2, which is not a huge difference, but actually to the market, it makes a big difference. And because of that, they just said, whoa, all the lenders took all their products away, they repriced, came back onto the market at much higher. Hence, we've got the 6% average now. And it's I don't really see it changing. If we go up to 4.75 on Thursday, that's going to have a further knock on. One lender, withdrew and repriced twice in a week last week.
Yeah, it's tumultuous times, as Heidi said a moment ago. What do you think? There's been a suggestion, I think Rishi Sunak has sort of played this down, but Michael Gove over the weekend was talking about perhaps intervening to help homeowners. I mean, that's another, I suppose, debate in itself, because then you've got government taxpayers' money being used to subsidise people who've got mortgages. And of course, not everyone has a mortgage, and that's kind of, there's bigger questions around that. But should they intervene? Should the government intervene in the same way that they did with energy bills, or what would help?
It would be nice, wouldn't it? But critics say that there's 30% of our population of our country have a mortgage. So actually, we're all struggling to one extent or another. So you're only helping the 30%, which is perhaps a little unfair. We are really suffering from the cost of COVID. So, this money's got to come from somewhere. We had quantitative easing. If we start giving, I'm not the government. If the government start helping, sounds like I am, doesn't it? Sorry, government. If we do start helping in that way, it doesn't help everybody, as I say. And also the money's got to come from somewhere. Yeah. So what happens, inflation is the big bugbear. It's sticky. It's not moving the way they wanted it to, or it is, but not as quickly as they wanted it to. And unfortunately, raising interest rates has the right effect on inflation. It does squeeze people. It stops people spending. So in a way, the Chancellor is thinking, this is good. This is policy that is working. It's a bitter pill for all of us, but it's working.
Yeah, I think there was a quote I read somewhere saying, if it's not hurting, it's not working. I think
that's it.
Yeah,
not much comfort, but
something's got to be done. Yeah, me too. Thank you for shedding a bit of light on some fairly grim thoughts around the economy and mortgages. Sally Mitchell, thank you for coming on. Mortgage mum, mortgage broker from Great Dunmow. So, are you affected? Someone in your family affected with this? Are you struggling to get on the property ladder? What do you think of what's going on with the situation with interest rates? Then 0800 111 40 41. Be good to hear from you this morning via text or WhatsApp as well. If you are messaging, start those messages with Essex.